receive the sacraments. And I did. The Eucharist weekly, confession, rarely.
And at the time it happened, I was living in a different place, and I was going to church, but not really. I was more of a part-time Catholic. I mean, I believed in going to church, but I didn't make it every Sunday.
I think it's very important for us as Catholics, if we believe in the power of the sacraments, especially undergoing a divorce, which brings a lot of pain, and there's a lot of hurt, and we need healing.
I decided I needed to start doing something, and I had a 3-year-old son. And I decided that in his best interest, I needed to have a spiritual life with him. So we started going to Mass, and that was all we started with. We would go to Mass, he would sit there and play, I would sit there and cry.
I went to Mass, and for a while I would just go and sit, and I would not go to communion. And I would sit and cry and try not to let my kids see me cry and pretend that it was the music that had brought me to tears.
And I know it's a struggle sometimes going to Mass and looking around and seeing couples, and they all seem married and very happy, and they're with their families. And that brings up pain, and that brings a lot of hurt.
The whole confession thing was, I had not been to confession in a very long time. And I was scared. I didn't have a lot of self-esteem at the time. And I was just not really happy about doing it. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Here you are in this time of not trusting anybody or anything. And this is a time when you have to make, in my opinion, a decision to trust. You have to trust that the sacraments are real, and they provide all the grace that you need for right now, which is your hell on earth. And if you will just trust it, you will get everything you need from the sacraments. The healing power is magnificent. The quietness, the solace. You might not feel anything, and what's critically important is that you don't look for a feeling, that you just trust. That this is the only thing you can trust. God is the only faithful spouse.
What helped me to forgive was understanding that there were some tools already waiting for me to pick up. And they weren't very complicated tools. And they were rather ancient tools. I just didn't understand them. I had to learn what the church had waiting for me.
I was really drawn back by just a hunger for the Eucharist that I couldn't manufacture. It was just happening. And as I came back to the church and learned more about what the church teaches about the sacraments and the nature of the sacraments, that just built up my hunger.
Many divorced men and women believe that they are not allowed to receive the sacraments, in particular the sacrament of the Eucharist. And that's simply not true. A civil divorce in and of itself does not prohibit a divorced man or woman from receiving the sacraments. What does prohibit someone from receiving the sacraments, especially the sacrament of the Eucharist, is someone who has remarried outside of the church without an annulment.
I must say that I got the most help from the Blessed Sacrament. I did adoration, but very irregularly, and I was sent by my counselor to do so, to go to adoration weekly, and wow, that was very powerful for me.
The sacrament of reconciliation. We may feel that we are unworthy going there, or we struggle with it. But I think it's important that remember, whatever we may think, we have to think that God's hand is at work and grace is happening.
I actually made an appointment with the priest only because it had been so long. So I was going to make a general confession. So I drove, and I'm driving, and I'm like, all right, well, I don't have to go in. I still have time. And I have to honestly say, until the time I entered his office, I knew I could turn around. And then when I just entered his office and we just started talking, and I told him it had been such a long time, he was so understanding and so compassionate. There was nothing that I felt like I couldn't say, and I had a lot to say.
If you have a good confessor, someone with whom you can speak, and he will counsel during reconciliation, that it's a special gift that you receive, and it's an important one, especially when you're going through any type of grief, any type of hardship, any type of anger. And we need to take advantage of that gift which we've received through Christ, through the church.
One day I was leaving confession, and through the clouds came a beam of light. And it was at that moment I said out loud to myself, kind of laughingly, saying, okay, God, all of those ideas that I had of what a family looks like and what a marriage looks like and what everything looked like, they're all yours. And you get to take those and take my children, take my idea of family, and do your will.
I hear him say to me all the time, just stay with me, and we'll fix this. And I know that that's true if I can just stay with him, whether it's through Mass, the sacraments, or just praising him and thanking him and confessing to him and just staying near him and bringing my hopes and my dreams and my pain to him. He'll get me through this, and he will get me to a place where he wants me to be so that I can be all that I'm supposed to be in him.
I gave an analogy once to somebody that said, God was always knocking at my door, and I answered it, but I never opened it and let him in. And I think I've finally done that. And it's the Eucharist, confession. It's what really gives me strength, even now when times are difficult. Gives me hope. Just makes me feel more at peace than anything else.
Something that meant a lot to me is that Sundays at Mass we would hold hands during the Lord's Prayer, and that was sometimes the only human contact I had if I didn't have my children in a week and a half or 2 weeks. And I tell you, I look forward to that. I look forward to sharing. I felt like I was connected to a group.
Even though I was the one that was left, I understood that I had things that, that I did wrong, and I had to ask forgiveness. So the church had those tools to help me. And I used them all the time. And I went to Mass at 9 o'clock every morning, and my life was on hold for a period when I was very involved with letting the church help me in those ways. Now, 6 years later, I don't go to Mass on every single day at 9 o'clock, and I don't go to confession even as much as I should, but I know it's there, and I know the strength of what it can do to help. And I understand that I'm in a family now that will never fall apart.
One trap not to fall into about the sacraments is if you're a good Catholic, it can be very tempting to think, well, you've prayed your rosary every day, you've been to Mass every day, you went to confession, you do the sacraments, you taught your children, your husband used to do that, your wife used to do that. And then to think, but God never responded, he didn't fix it. I've had situations where clients have said to me, well, I've prayed my rosary every day for 3 years, and that has not changed my ex one bit. I'm going, well, wrong person got changed, It's very important that you don't take the sacraments as tools to fix what's broke inside other people. The sacraments fix what's broke inside you. And they're beautiful, magnificent gifts from God. I hope you will utilize them. more than ever throughout this time.